This product was gifted by the developer.
Behind every great movie, there is a man who you'll never see. His job is a stunt double. And his name is Joe McFlash.
Hey guys, NinjaGuyVR here, and today we're taking a look at Stunt Double Joe McFlash. Now I'm sure that it's the first time that a lot of you hear about this game, but I was lucky enough to try the alpha a few months ago, and I honestly couldn't wait to get my hands on the full release. So today I'm here to explain everything about the game, especially why it's so fun. So let's get this started. Stunt Double Joe McFlash is coming out on September 2nd, 2024 in early access on the Meta Store. It will be available for €15.99 and is compatible with the Meta Quest 2 and 3. The developer of the game is Moonshine Games. This is a single indie developer who made a handful of games, with Connor being his most popular one so far. I've made a review of this game in the past, so check it out if you're interested. Let's take a look at the game now. So the game is very easy to explain. You are a stunt driver, and your job is to reach these checkpoints before the time runs out. But there's a lot of variety to it, which I'll explain later. You start the game by being in the audience of a late show. This show is actually interviewing Joe McFlash, who is the stunt double of many movies. During the interview, he basically talks about his experience in every movies that he worked on, and you're basically reliving his experience with him. Throughout the game, you'll be experiencing 5 movies, and every movie has a handful of scenes that you need to go through. The progression is great, because you're not allowed to skip any movie or scene. They unlock as you finish the next scene. You'll be going in movies such as The Lucky Man. This is a section where you'll be driving in a very busy city with narrow streets, parking buildings, and other bigger sections.
Sharp right. Make the jump.
In Country Brothers, you'll be driving through farms, dirt road, and even have a police car and chase some vigilante. This movie is definitely an homage to The Dukes of Hazzard.
Make the jump.
In Tropical Blunder, you drive through tropical forests with some ancient buildings, but as you progress through this one, you end up in a volcanic section where you have to escape. Arctic Blast is pretty self-explanatory. You drive in snow, icy areas, and storms where the visibility is reduced, but you have these red smoke signals to help you out. And then the last movie is This Is the End, which is most likely a tribute to Mad Max, where you drive in deserted plains in a buggy while your obstacles are usually scrap cars and damaged buildings.
Turn right.
What's cool is that each time that you finish a movie, you are then transported to a theater to see a trailer of the movie you've worked on. Kind of a rewarding little scene. In case you don't know how to get out of the theater, like I did, you need to click on the little poster on the upper right side. So the variety is not just the environment. Your main goal is to reach the checkpoints in a certain amount of time. You'll often get slow motion scenes when you jump, and put you on the camera that's filming that scene. It's pretty satisfying as it happens, and it never really feels old. Some camera angles can be pretty epic. You also get different types of objective, which keeps it fresh. Some of the scene is a car chase. There's one scene where you're literally dodging icicles popping out of nowhere, and there's even a scene where you're kind of in a traffic jam and have to make sure that you don't hit any cars. There's tons of other little things like this, which doesn't make it boring. I also love how the game becomes more and more challenging as you go. The first movie can be a little bit of a cakewalk, but I'd say that the challenge starts ramping up starting in the middle of the third movie. Now I must admit that I'm not the best at car driving in video games, so it might be easier for others depending on your skills, but I personally failed a lot of times and it took me about 4 hours to finish the game. It never felt frustrating though, except for one part that I'll talk about later, but when I usually failed, I knew that it was my fault and needed to do something better. The game is not just about putting the pedal to the metal at full speed. You really have to think how to drive the car. You might need to slow down to do a narrow turn or avoid an obstacle. There's also icy terrain that you have to be very careful with. The cars in the game are very responsive and handles very well. When you use the brakes while turning, you'll do a very nice drift. so I can see some people doing some very nice time attack if they're good at drifting. The one level that really frustrated me was the last scene of Arctic Blast. There's a section where you really don't have a lot of time to get to, and then you have to cross a super narrow bridge, but you can't take your time or else you won't have time to make it to the next checkpoint. I'm not gonna lie, I've cursed a lot in this level and it didn't feel fun at all after being stuck on it for a long time. Although the good news is that I've contacted the developer and he will be adding some additional seconds to these checkpoints, so it shouldn't be too bad on release. Speaking of which, I did have some nice conversations with the developer. He also mentioned that he's making some improvements on the game, like lighting effects for example. As soon as I finished the game, I asked him when are we getting a sequel. I'm serious, it's really fun. The reason for that is because it's so unique. I've never seen a game like that in VR, and different ideas like this is what I'm looking for. The dev also mentioned that more movies will come in the future for this game, so keep a lookout. So, you know, the game is not perfect. It's only made by one developer after all. So I do have to mention a few nitpicks that some people may not like, and here they are. A lot of AI stuff was used, like movie posters, the voice acting, and the music. I'm personally okay with this due to the budget that the dev has to deal with. There's also a weird thing where your hand seems to decalibrate from the wheel sometimes, so I just have to ungrab and grab the wheel again to recalibrate. There's some voice acting at the start of the scene, but sometimes it gets cut off and the game starts before he's done. There's also some frustrating jumps sometimes that really don't feel fair and inconsistent. The game doesn't let you restart the scene. You have to wait for the checkpoint to time out before you can. So these are the biggest things that I've noticed, but there's also other little things. I'm happy to say though that I have not encountered any breaking bugs in my playthrough. The core of the game is pretty smooth. Alright guys, thanks for watching today's video. As you might have noticed, I really enjoyed my time with this one. Of course, it lacks the quality of a bigger budget title, but it's very fun, unique, with a lot of variety. If what you see today seems like a fun time, I don't think that you'll be disappointed. Guys, I'm so close to reaching the 1K sub on my channel. If you could subscribe, it would mean the world to me. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comments what's your first reaction on the game. Bye everyone!